The Jays are in deep with some big-time recruits, and we've got the scoop. You're on the Roll Jays podcast.
Heads up, it's the Roll Jays podcast, the voice of the Creighton basketball fan. With your hosts, Jimmie Allen and Casey Matthews. Join the crew and meet CU players, coaches, and a whole lot more. Now, the Roll Jays podcast. Here's Jimmie Allen.
What's up, Jimmie?
Hey, what's going on, man? It's been a few weeks. We got some breaking news of the schedule coming out. Coming out, and we also got some recruiting news. We got a ton to get to. We also have the wrong board up there. We got to tease them sometimes. That's right. We got some inside scoops on some of the recruiting news that's going on. I'm excited to talk about a 5-star recruit and interest in Creighton. We got a lot to get into here.
We do, and yeah, it has been a bit, but there's been a lot of news, and we're gonna we'll have our schedule reaction show out Thursday, so make sure if you're watching this, you're tuned in, and listen, we're brought to you by Pepper Jack Studios. I want to say thank you to Pepper Jacks, also Pyramid Contractors for sponsoring our show. We have some unbelievable sponsors, and that help us, make this possible. But Jimmie, listen, man, we got a little bit of news on the recruiting trail, and obviously, this time of year, the guys are out hitting it hard, doing visits, just trying to build relationships with guys for next year, with guys for the following year. I'm hearing some of our young guys are out there on the road. Mitch Ballock is making inroads with a couple of these guys.
I want to ask you about that really quick before we jump full swing into it. This kind of feels like, even going back to last year's transfer portal class, this kind of feels like this staff as a whole is all in on recruiting right now. I mean, Derek Kellogg is out hitting the trail. Obviously, Trey Ziegler, we've called him the ace of recruiting. We know that Jeff Vanderloo is the recruiting wizard of the portal and all that. But it just kind of feels like everybody is a full court press right now, trying to build this thing for the future, whether it be Greg McDermott, whether it be Alan Huss at the top of the totem pole. It just kind of feels like everybody beneath those guys are all in right now. And I think that's something that deserves to be talked about.
Yeah, I think you're right. And what's interesting as I look at it is, again, I've made it very clear where I stand on Coach Mack and what I think our future holds relative to how many years he'll be still the head coach here. So for me, I look at this as, this is Huss's first real class that's his at Creighton.
Yeah, I agree.
If you go and you look at High Point and the roster that he had built at High Point, and then you look at the guys that we're in on, makes a lot of sense. He had really good guards at High Point, athleticism at High Point, very high basketball IQ players at High Point. And then you start looking at some of these guys that are recruiting, some of the guys we've signed. It has Al Huss's fingerprints all over it. And, it's interesting, though, because to me, with the system that Mac has put in here and has been so successful here, you can still recruit these guys. Like, it's not like Mac has a style that he likes to play and has a fit, for the players that we recruit.
Absolutely. Well, and he's talked about wanting to recruit character as well as talent, right?
Absolutely. And that's not to say that Huss isn't going to recruit character, but I think what you're going to see is Huss is going to put an emphasis on athleticism, and he's just so big at that guard spot. Bigger, longer guards, I think, is what you're going to see. Now, who knows? Who knows? But when I look at who we're in on and who we're really focused on right now, it makes a lot of sense. And when you want to talk about athleticism and size. Again, with these names, I got to talk to these guys. They keep killing me with some of these names that I can't pronounce, but we're going to go for it here. Yeah. Baba Olatatun.
There you go.
Nailed I don't know
First
if
try.
That's it or
that
not.
Is it. You nailed it.
Okay. Now, Baba is a 5-star big man. Goes about 6'10", out of Maryland. And
he's the number 10 player in the country.
Yeah, it'd be easier for me to name who hasn't offered him than who has. But he's got all your blue bloods,
But Kansas, it's going to be interesting, right? You throw that out there, but Maryland is very much in that discussion as well. Hometown kid, does that matter anymore? And I think the one thing, think a lot of people are going to look at him and say, okay, a 5-star prospect, number 10 player in the country. How much does Creighton really have a shot with this kid? Because they've never been able to recruit a player of that caliber up until this point. But I really wonder how much the great equalizer of the NIL of a Big East school that doesn't have to compete with football money is going to play into it. And maybe not necessarily in a matter of landing him, but like even getting Creighton into that discussion is something that's going to be really interesting to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, you're 100% right. The fact that our name is even out there is interesting. I know Coach Kellogg is on him pretty hard. You know, when you say Maryland, here's the thing. Now that Buzz is there, I think they're very much in
a lot
play.
more traction, absolutely.
If they have the money. And I don't know what the money looks like there, but I can't
How much is Under Armour helping these days?
Yeah, but I also just with Buzz, I just cannot imagine that
Sure.
he would have left A&M to go to Maryland if he didn't know that he's going to have the money to get it done. But yeah, I mean,
that's how much he hates the new AD.
Yeah, right.
He's not the most popular guy anymore.
He's not the most popular in a couple places, from what I understand. But so we'll see with him. The next guy on our list is Chase Branham. Now, Chase, to me, this one's really intriguing. 6'4" guard. I think if you look at all the recruiting sites that list him as a point guard, I don't know what he translates to here, but the kid can flat out shoot the ball. Go ahead.
When you look at him, in his play style, his body type, and the way he moves, he reminds me of a young Josh Dix when Josh Dix was over in Council Bluffs. Just the way he moves off the ball and the way his body type is. Obviously, he's not 6'6", he's 6'4", but he's got a lot of room to grow into that frame, and I think he could look a lot like Josh Dix on the court by the time he's done at Creighton, if he ends up coming here as well.
That's an interesting point. I know that we feel good about our chances there. Mitch Ballock is the guy that's really leading the charge there, which is interesting because Chase plays for Run GMC.
Yep.
Which is where Mitch played in AAU, and so it's just interesting. Like I know how Mitch operates in terms of he is an outstanding relationship builder, and he is as genuine of a human being as you're ever going to meet. So if we're in there and we feel good about our chances, to me, that's a signal that there's a good bond and relationship between Chase and Mitch. In that case, I like our chances. Now, other schools are going to be on him as well. Obviously, Iowa State, Purdue, Indiana. So he's got some big time names coming after him. And to be fair, the names that are mentioned make a lot of sense in terms of style of play, location, all those things make sense. But when you break down I want
to touch on location for just a quick second, because I think it's important. You mentioned where he played. He's from Missouri, and I wonder how much, even in today's era, it helps to walk in and point at a kid like Ryan Kalkbrenner and say, he's from right down the road. Look what we're able to do with him. He's a starter in the NBA now. This is what we can make you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, I do love that perspective. I think, that's obviously very true. But I mean, I keep talking about Mitch here, but it just makes so much sense, right? I mean, Mitch is a shooter, similar size, similar style, that came from that general area, played AAU there, and came up to Creighton, had an unbelievable career. But that was before the days of NIL. And so it's a little bit different in that regard. Right. But Mitch is also, he's been here for a few years. He's seen some of these guys come in. He can speak to that. He can speak to the player development. I mean, Mitch was a vital part, and still is, of the player development program, especially for our guards and wings. So when you see the steps that some of these guys have taken, I'm not laying it all at the feet of Mitch and saying he's the reason, but he's playing a huge part of that. And I think when you can have that conversation as a former player in this system and location, and also now I'm here as a coach, that's an outstanding advantage to have. So anyway, I like our chances, and that's what I'm hearing so far for Chase. Go ahead.
The one thing that this coaching staff can really preach that none of these kids will ever understand until after they're gone is, if it works for you here, you always have somewhere to go. And that just kind of feels like that is a unique to Omaha type thing with Creighton University, in my opinion. And
But
really,
you mean somewhere to go as far as come back to Omaha, or
to coach? They're all like, even with the transition to Allen Huss, I really feel like, I mean, we just obviously Jahens is now at Murray State, but I mean, we've seen so many players come back or connections to other coaches with a guy like Trey Ziegler, and it always works out. And you're like, when you're 16, 17, you're going to make it to the NBA. You're going to have a 15-year long career. That's obviously going to happen,
right?
But I think if you could point at a guy like Trey and point at a guy like Mitch, and even to a guy like Jahins who's going on to do other things, and say, listen, if it, and obviously different for Trey, didn't play here, but he played and had a connection here, that this is a home field, and if things don't work out well for you in your pro aspirations, or maybe after a 15-year career you want to get into coaching, Omaha's always going to be home if you make it that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. I mean, and another name is Marcus Zagorowski, who he's at Alabama, but it was between Alabama and Creighton in terms of coming back and coaching. And
so he's dead to us, Marcus.
Yeah, his relationship with Preston there ultimately, won out. Preston was one that recruited him to Creighton, but that was a place where he was looking to come here as well. So I agree. I think that's a good point. Look, the last name is the number one priority, because the one thing about Chase is 27, and the guy that's
and Baba's
all hands on deck right now and everybody's on is Jaxon Richardson. Now, this is a kid that the Jays want bad and feel like we're in a really good spot for.
I hate to put this much pressure on an incoming freshman, but doesn't his play style just look like it perfectly fits the Al Huss model of wanting to get out and run, wanting to play in space, and also can handle the ball?
100%. And he's tough. He rebounds like a monster. He's 6'6". He's an athletic freak.
You scared me for a minute there. I didn't know what you were going to say when you started with the letter A.
But no, he is. I think he would be perfect in the system. As I talk to some of the staff, and they just gush over him and what they see, him being able to do in the system, playing for whether it's Mac or Huss. His game is perfect for what we do. Now, right now, it's down to us, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Here's the thing, though. Alabama's already signed 2 big-time wings that make it a little bit tougher, when you start recruiting and talk about minutes that are available and your role. There's going to be a lot of
I do want to point out he's also got a visit still scheduled to USC. So those are his top 3 schools, but the Trojans still have a play for him, and he'll be on campus next weekend.
Okay. I still think the 3 I named are
probably the top front runners. I agree, but just in case after this comes out, something weird happens with USC. I don't want to be on a message board to say those idiots on the Roll Jays podcast didn't even mention USC.
Yeah, that's fair. I think he is a guy that is perfect for us, and with Alabama's other wings, I think that one's, if you're Jackson, you're looking at this, I just think, not that you're afraid of competition in any way. I mean, Jackson can go in and beat both those guys out, but at the same time, anything that Alabama's saying right now in terms of how many minutes are going to be available, your role, it's
all in theory, right?
It is. Whereas if you're looking at our roster and what's the minutes that are available, I think it's a little more clear that you're going to have a huge role coming in here from day one, provided that you earn it. But the opportunity is certainly going to be there. Here's the thing: he's going to be on campus for the Iowa State deal on the 17th. Is that the 17th?
Scrimmage,
yeah, of October. So a little, and that's public. That's been out there. But here's a little nugget: is that we'll have also Cottrell will be here for that, and Jaden will be here for that. So 2 guys that we already have signed that are they're going to be here to sort of help and aid in the in the visit. So
and that's
I think
Control Harmon and Jaden Coots for anybody that may not be in the know. I just want to make sure that.
Yeah. Sorry. So I think that's awesome. And it's a great sign that, if you have guys that are committed to come here and they're going to go ahead and come to campus and join that, that's awesome. And it's kind of like, it's sort of what Creighton's been doing lately, right? With Ty, with Jaxon, with our current Jaxon to be involved in these recruiting battles. And I think that's great. So, so that's kind of some of the information on the recruiting trail.
Yeah. I think Chase is obviously a guy that Creighton has the best chance. Like if we're ranking this impossible, I think Chase is the guy that the Jays feel the best about as a probability to come here. I think they feel really good about Jaxon Richardson, but there's just going to be so much competition to try to get him to come here specifically. Probably with Ole Miss, and he did just take a visit to Miami, and it kind of feels like the Hurricanes maybe out of the discussion. We mentioned USC, and
I think Jackson's the one that they feel the best at, and really? Because it's the sooner decision. Whereas with Chase, you don't know when he's going to make a decision. Plus, say he came out and committed right now, you still got to recruit him for another year. So.
You got to recruit everybody at all times now.
You do, yeah, you do. But I think it's a little different when the guy's going to be here, within the year.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, and I would expect Jaxon to take his time to take all of his visits. But I know the Jays feel pretty good about that. So
and obviously I think Bob is probably at the bottom of that list just because he's probably at the bottom of a lot of people's lists. Obviously the highest priority. But the likelihood of getting him, and there's just so many names that pop.
He's such a big name that you got to mention him. But Jays fans, don't hold your breath on that one. I think that one's going to be, if we come out getting him, we all need to celebrate.
Program changer, right? Yeah, I mean,
I think it just puts you in a different stratosphere in terms of who you can recruit, because when you're beating out every blue blood for him. And you just look at his size, like he's a 6'10" kid. Like there's not a lot of those guys out there that are that good a player. Right. So, which I say that to say
that has that many weapons.
Yeah. Well, but it's also like when you're recruiting wings and you're recruiting guards, there's a lot more of those guys out there. So if you're Kentucky, you have 15 of those guys on your list.
Yeah.
You don't have 15 6'10" guys on your list. You've got one, two, or three of them. Yeah. And so you're throwing everything you've got at those, 1 to 3 maybe. Whereas if it's like I said, a guard, you might have 20 guys on that list. So that's the difference. But look, if we can come away somehow and get them, I'll be thrilled.
I'm going to be really interested to see what happens with Hudson Greer after this year, because we've heard this coaching staff talk about too good to keep off the court, making an impact.
I heard it again, by the way, Jimmy. I heard it again 3 days ago. He's playing unbelievable.
Yeah, Hudson Greer's got to stop tweeting you directly. No, I kid. But obvious. But we've talked about this. I mean, this coaching staff is in such a position this year that they have the best problem to have is there's one basketball and so many different shooters and so many different scorers. What is next year's roster look like, right? Like, I mean, you feel really good about Jackson McAndrew and Ty Davis seeing their career through at Creighton, and both of them told us that personally, and I believe that. I think that's a real thing there. Say what you want about money and all the people that are going to come calling, what have you. I believe both of those guys are committed to being here. If Hudson Greer isn't able to get the shots that he wants, and things don't work out for him to be in the rotation as much as he feels like it should dictate, does he test the transfer portal? I don't think that's the case either. But listen, that's just the way of the world now. I think that's a conversation you have to have about everybody going forward, not just specifically a freshman coming in. But if not, if Hudson Greer does make the impact we're expecting him to, and he is trusted within the system and can do what we've seen experienced college basketball players not do and struggle to learn the spacing and the pacing of the defense and the offensive side of the ball, and he does make the impact, like how much does that change in his impact this season determine where they go with this recruiting class going forward? And I think that's a very intriguing thing to keep an eye on.
I think you're 100% right, and I think the same can be said for some of those other wings that we got. The Austin Swartz, and Blake's to me more of like a 3-4, and really probably more 4-3 than he is anything else. And so that one I don't factor in quite as much. But shoot, I mean, Blake's been getting a lot of love nationally lately.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, personally, I think he's going to be a very good player. I think he's still another season away before we're really going to see how good he can be. But there's some national writers out there saying this could be an NBA kid next year, which is crazy. I mean,
which
obviously
would not be a bad problem to have.
no, we had a chance to sit down with Blake, and if you haven't seen that interview, go back in the feed. It was unbelievable. Actually, we'll put it here at the end of this video. But Blake was awesome, and I hope he kills it. But I do think he's that 1 year away to really develop his skill here through our skill development program, and to where because he's going to be surrounded by so many better players. He's not going to need to back everybody down and get into that mid-range game. He's going to be able to let some of that skill that he has come to life and be able to develop that. So I think he's 1 year away from really being able to show us what he's got.
And I think the one thing you always have to take into consideration is the level up in competition he's going to be playing against. Like even if he is ready, like there's always going to be that adjustment period too. So I hope we're talking about, him being an NBA prospect, because obviously that's good for everybody, right? Like if that's the case, it's win all the way across the board. And if not, like I don't necessarily that means that Blake Harper can't be there a year from now. Like it may just take a little while to get there. And I think that's probably more the case than him coming out and being ready after the end of the season, just because, as I mentioned with Hudson, like there's a possibility Creighton's going to lose some games this year. People are going to ask if the sky is falling. And by the time February shows up, we're talking about a 3 seed in the Big East tournament. Like it kind of feels like it's rinse and repeat with that happening with this program.
Yeah, I agree. And this is kind of getting a little bit off topic, Jimmie, but I just kind of sitting here listening to you and thinking about this roster. You know what I keep thinking? I feel like even though it was a big deal at the moment, I feel like we just sort of just forget about Fedor too.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that is not forgetting about him, but really not knowing what it is yet, right? Like, I mean, it felt like there's potential and untapped potential specifically, but listen, both Murph and Lou have told us he's had some issue handling his weight at the college level and being away from home, and he's had some issues with basically dealing with not knowing if he was eligible and maintaining his athleticism while dealing with that. Now, what does it look like when he knows he can be full go and ramp up all the way? And so
now he's got 2 years.
Yeah. And that's obviously phenomenal for him, but what does it look like? And I just don't think we know the answer to that yet.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's going to be really, there will be a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions. Yeah. There's a ton of question marks about this team, but they're question marks for all the right reasons.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for practice to get going and get out there and watch a little bit and formulate a little more informed opinion, on this year's roster. So,
but even so, man, I still really don't feel like we're gonna know what this team is till probably mid to late January. Even if it's sunshine and rainbows and Creighton's undefeated heading into late January, I don't think that's gonna be the case. But if it is, I still don't know if we're gonna know exactly what this team is yet.
Yep. Well, look, come back on Thursday. Check out our video for the Big East schedule. We're going to talk about the schedule, and there's a stretch in the schedule that I think is going to make or break the conference season. So tune in Thursday to hear my take and Jimmie's take on that. At the end of this video, I'll link the Blake Harper interview we did a few months ago. If you haven't subscribed yet, why not? Hit subscribe, like, share. Helps us out. Big East Energy. We'll be here up until the season. We got a couple episodes each week of the season. We're just getting started, so you're getting us early. You're getting us early, and so we appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Thursday.
Why you need to try Pepper Jack's Grill, the best Philly cheesesteak in America. At Pepper Jack's Grill, we craft your Philly just the way you like it. Fresh ingredients, sizzling on the grill, and endless customization options. Not just Phillies, we've got rice bowls, burritos, nachos, and even vegetarian choices. And don't forget those crispy fries with our famous spicy ranch. With 10 great locations in Omaha, there's a delicious meal waiting for everyone in the family. Pepper Jack's Grill, your Philly, your way.
At Pyramid Contractors, we do it all. From repairing or replacing your roof to updating siding, windows, or gutters. When you have a home improvement project, call Pyramid Contractors.
Pyramid.